Good morning, everyone. It's April 1st, 2019. I'm Eric. Before I get started, I'm going to talk a little bit about Alex Jones. Apparently, he came out and said the things he said about Sandy Hook were as a result of some type of psychosis. Except that there's so many discrepancies in that particular shooting, like every other shooting that happens, including the latest there in New Zealand. There were so many discrepancies, it'd be hard to fully believe what you are being told by the media and authorities, if you are a thinking person at all. So, Alex Jones has once again managed to make people look bad who participate in theorizing what may have happened in any certain event. I prefer not to call them conspiracy theorists because, after all, we have been right about so many things, including the use of explosives in the World Trade Centers. Over here on the Free Thought Project, I'm going to cover, I think, 2 or 3 of them. School cop whose job was to protect children arrested for raping children. And this is one from Matt Argust. This happened in Boner Springs, Kansas. How appropriate. As the Free Thought Project previously reported, schools across the country are increasingly hiring police officers to do the job that teachers and guidance counselors once did. This is resulting in the criminalization of childhood as well as increased violence against children, or should I say, increased police violence against children. And as the following case out of Kansas illustrates, these positions for school cops are being filled by alleged child predators. Officer Mark A. Sheets, 40, with the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools Police Department, was arrested last week over horrifying allegations of child rape and other sex crimes against children, according to the Kansas City Star. Sheets was arrested in Boner Springs on suspicion of rape, aggravated criminal sodomy, and aggravated indecent liberties with a child, according to the Kansas Bureau of Investigations. The KBI noted that the crimes allegedly occurred while Sheets was living in Norton County between 2013 and 2015, when he allegedly engaged in sex acts with a minor, sent lewd photos to minors, and used electronic devices to solicit sex from minors. After the period of alleged crimes, Sheets sought out a career in law enforcement and became a deputy with the Sheridan County Sheriff's Office from 2016 to 2018. He then found a job in the school district, which put him in direct contact with children. Whether or not Sheets preyed on any of the children at the school where he worked is unknown. However, as he has been working in the school district for a year, a broader investigation has since been launched, and anyone with information is asked to call the KBI at 1-800-KS-CRIME. 1-800-KS-CRIME. Sheets is currently being held in the Norton County Jail. His status is unknown. This problem of predator police officers is to be expected as more schools opt for cops instead of civilian staff. Positions of authority, especially over children, often attract society's worst, as it allows them easy access to carry out their sick desires. Sadly, it seems this problem isn't getting any better. According to the Department of Education, the Civil Rights Data Collection is a survey of all public schools and school districts in the United States. The CRDC measures student access to courses, programs, instructional and other staff and resources, as well as school climate factors, such as student discipline and bullying and harassment that impact education, equity, and opportunity for students. The trove of data highlights a frightening state of affairs in which public schools now find themselves. One of the trends shown in the data is the removal of guidance counselors. According to a report in the Washington Post, high school counselors often have tough jobs. They keep track of their students' progress towards graduation. They help students apply to college and navigate the financial aid process. They also help kids navigate their lives outside of school, which can be made complex by poverty, violence, and family trouble. And because counselors often are one of the first positions to be cut when budgets get tight, there are almost never enough to go around. The national average is close to 500 students per school counselor. Many students have no counselor at all. Okay. According to the CRDC report, which counted cops in schools for the very first time in 2014, 24% of elementary schools and 42% of high schools have armed police officers. In schools with higher concentrations of minority, that number skyrockets. Now, let's talk real quick about them having these cops in these schools. As we witnessed in Broward County, home of the Parkland shooting, having these armed officers did those people absolutely no good. In fact, one of the teachers said that it looked like a cop doing the shooting. Okay? So, these cops are not making the children any less safe. In fact, it's the reverse. I mean, you have these guys who have authority, and when people file complaints against them, it usually takes a very long time for anything to get done about whatever you're filing a report for. And if it happens to be assault or that type of wrongdoing, you're probably not going to get very far. Now, when you accuse a cop of something like a rape or child or pedophilia or anything like that, it usually takes a very long time for anything to get done or for anyone to take the matter seriously because they have state authority. It seems that schools in America are starting to more closely resemble prisons than learning facilities. Think about it. Children are locked behind steel doors all day long as armed agents of the state patrol the grounds. A first a few minutes out of the day, the students are giving a little yard time. And again, they are kept under watch of armed state agents. Video after video shows the horrific nature of such a practice, as children are seen being maced, beaten, and tasered for normal childhood behaviors. And as Sheets' alleged crimes show, they are also being sexually abused. So, and millions of people across the country would call this guy a good guy. What a bunch of dumbasses. Let's see here. What else do we have? Yeah. Six cops surround man sleeping at Taco Bell, execute him in firing squad fashion. This happened in Vallejo, California. Willie McCoy was an aspiring 20-year-old rapper, and that's pretty much every black guy that age in America, whose life was brought to a tragic end in February when 6 police officers decided to kill him as he slept in his car in a parking lot of a Taco Bell. After nearly 2 months, police have released the body camera showing this execution. As the San Francisco Chronicle notes, in a rare move, the department released not only raw footage of the incident, but also edited takes of the shooting, complete with subtitles, a slow-motion view of critical moments, and play-by-play text that include an officer's version of events not readily seen on the video. In quotes, "It is our hope that we provide sufficient context for the community to understand the facts of this incident," police said. McCoy's family said police edited the video to try and spin it to their official narrative. However, even with their edits, it shows little more than a premeditated death by firing squad. In quotes, "They're being political now," said Mark McCoy, Willie McCoy's older brother. "Look, that's the way our society is. If your people do wrong, you're not allowed to say, 'Hey, we messed up.' That's the way we've been trained." The 6 officers involved in the shooting were identified as Colin Eaton, Brian Glick, Jordan Patzier, Anthony Romero Canu, Mark Thompson, and Ryan McHannon, some shit like that. They have all since returned to normal duty. On February 9th at 10:30 p.m., an employee of Taco Bell called police to let them know a black man was sleeping in his car while waiting for food. McCoy, whose rapper name was Willie Bowe, was slumped over, asleep on the steering wheel when officers arrived. Apparently, it is a crime to sleep in your car now. McCoy posed no threat to the officers as he was asleep. However, he had a handgun in his lap. Because police don't usually respect the Second Amendment rights of black men, oh, Jesus Christ, they don't respect the Second Amendment rights of anybody. Instead of beeping the siren or using their loudspeaker to wake McCoy up, the responding officers called for backup. As the video shows, and as The Guardian points out, there are several factors that show the incompetence and insanity involved in this shooting. Officers did not try to wake McCoy up or talk to him after they spotted a gun in his lap, and instead pointed their firearms at his head outside the car as he slept for several minutes. One officer said, "I'm going to pull him out and snatch his ass." The officer then realized the firearm did not have a magazine in it, noting to each other that, if it was loaded, it would have a single bullet in it. He's only got one shot if he shoots. The officers then appeared to make a plan to fire at him, with one saying, "If he reaches for it, you know what to do." McCoy eventually started to move, scratching his shoulder and not yet appearing alert or saying anything to officers. And several seconds later, all six fired at him. They definitely handled that wrong. And again, if you're a white person who thinks, maybe this guy deserved it, based on the fact that he was an aspiring rapper or that he was black, remember that anything that's done to black folks can be and is done to white folks right along with them. In fact, white folks are the recipient of police violence around double that of those people of color. This one is on Blacklisted News, originally posted at Zero Hedge. Wave of hate crime hoaxes stoke panic in Portland. Okay, so I talk a lot about these kinds of things. Each and every time a social justice warrior, a LGBTQ, each time a person of color does a false flag hate crime or a hoax, you just make your own people look dumber and dumber each time. But maybe you don't see it as being stupid. I do. Jussie Smollett. He isn't alone in trying to fake hate crimes for personal or selfish reasons. Hate crime hoaxes happen more often than many well-meaning Americans probably realize, and often they're orchestrated as part of a trend intended to provoke hysteria and panic. Sometimes innocent conservatives guilty of nothing more than living in the area where the crimes allegedly occurred are falsely accused of carrying out the attacks and subjected to a storm of online threats and abuse. And by the way, sometimes it's not just online that this occurs. The political subtext of these false reports is easy to spot. just like the Smollett case, they're intended to portray Trump supporters and conservatives as violent bigots and homophobes willing to indiscriminately target members of the trans and gay communities. And let's not forget the black community right along with it. And the thing is these people, whoever wrote this article, I didn't spot the author's name here, they always specifically say Trump supporters or conservatives. Now, I have been targeted myself, and I'm neither one of these. I'm simply just a heterosexual white male. That's really what it should say. And according to an investigation by New York Post columnist Andy Ngo, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that, Ngo, Smollett isn't the only hate crime hoaxer to avoid punishment. In the Portland area alone, trans and LGBT activists have incited a panic with reports of attacks on the LGBTQ individuals that, when investigated, were either never reported to police, or in some cases, the details gathered by police differed dramatically from what was disclosed in viral social media posts, in such a way as to suggest that an attack never occurred. NGO's piece begins with the February 10th attack on Sophia Gabriel Stanford, who launched a GoFundMe page that described her as the victim of a brutal and aggressively blatant hate crime that recounted how unidentified assailants had beaten her unconscious with a bat. Well, I've been beat with a bat, and I'll tell you what. This bitch did not get beat with a bat. Here's the key right here. I would bet, if someone were to look into it, that most of these hate crime victims had some sort of donations page, either on GoFundMe or some other platform. I would bet that they make these stories up to garner sympathy from morons out there who believe them and ask for donations after they get the sympathy. The page stated that Stanford had suffered a serious concussion that would need intensive physical therapy, CT scans, and consulting, or counseling rather. And here's Andy Ngo's Twitter. A GoFundMe for activist Sophia Gabriel Stanford went viral after it was alleged she was violently attacked from behind with a baseball bat by transphobes. Also, it's a male that got beat up. Aw, poor baby. That's not at all what the police reports say. The post went viral and raised thousands of dollars. But when NGO investigated, he discovered that the details from the police report of the incident varied dramatically from Stanford's account. Per the report, Stanford even made an idle threat against the officers who were questioning her. "If you don't treat me right, people will get you." See, these trannies are abusing the sympathy of people. These POCs are abusing the sympathy of people. In the early hours of Sunday, February 10th, emergency services received a call about a dude, identified as Stanford, found on a sidewalk with scrapes on his face and knuckles, claiming that he may have been assaulted. The responding officer, Edgar Mitchell, noted that Stanford smelled of alcohol. In quotes, "I asked Officer Zachary Rowe what happened," the report states. Rowe said the individual admitted to being intoxicated, and Rowe believed the person fell and hit his head. Stanford either could not or would not state his name to the police. The responding officer was unable to discover Stanford's name and claims that he made a threat. "If you don't treat me right, my people will get you," he said, according to the report. The report also states that Stanford lost a pistol and bag he was carrying at the time of the alleged attack. So, this individual, this man who pretends to be a woman, had a pistol and still got attacked. Right. Look, if you carry a gun on you and someone still manages to attack you, then you fucking suck. The report also states that Stanford lost a pistol and a bag he was carrying at the time of the alleged attack. A local resident found both items and flagged down another officer, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce this one's name, but when he attempted to return the gun to Stanford at nearby Emmanuel Hospital, where he had been transported, he was already discharged. So if you're beaten with a baseball bat, you would not have been discharged from the hospital that fast. And NGO tried reaching out to Stanford on social media, where he swiftly blocked NGO. But in the weeks after Stanford's story went viral, a number of hate crimes were reported across Portland, inspiring a panic in the city's sizable LGBTQ community, as well as as a result, some refused to travel alone at night. Workshops popped up where members of the community were taught how to spot a fascist. Yet, no assailants were ever positively identified. Members of the Proud Boys who were facing criminal charges over a street brawl with members of Antifa were targeted by social media pages that encourage readers to commit acts of retaliatory violence. And this exact same thing occurs after POCs report fake attacks. They encourage people to commit acts of retaliatory violence. About a week after Stanford's alleged assault, another fat queer activist published a claim on social media about an attack on her partner, or his partner, claiming that two young white men in a maroon SUV have lobbed a full can of beer at him and called him a homophobic slur. A photo of Bruzzo's partner was posted with a picture of a bruise on her cheek. Though Bruzzo said the incident had been reported, when NGO contacted police, they found no record of an incident at that location on that day. On February 17th, Jenny Bruzzo, a self-described fat queer activist, posted a claim on Facebook and Twitter that echoed Stanford's harrowing story. He posted that her partner, Bree Jones, was attacked by two young white men in a maroon SUV who pulled up beside her at a busy intersection, called him a homophobic slur, and threw a full can of beer at his face. He was allegedly knocked to the ground from the impact. Bruzzo posted a photo of Jones with an abrasion on his cheek. And apparently NGO spoke with businesses along that intersection, and nobody witnessed an attack. And Bruzzo went on to tell people, "We owe you nothing," he wrote on Facebook. "The intention was to warn our communities, and that's precisely what I did." Or warn your communities about what? So, eventually people are going to be prosecuted behind these fake attacks, if they haven't already been. Eventually, completely innocent people will get sent to prison or jail or put on probation and fined out the ass for made-up attacks. So in response, activists sent out attack alerts and circulated the addresses of the alleged attackers, one of whom, a former member of conservative group in the area, was accused of being involved in the attack against Bruzzo and his partner because, according to doxers, he owned a maroon SUV. However, that SUV, the SUV in question, had been repossessed months before the attack. Meanwhile, these and other hate crime reports have been uncritically shared by the Portland Mercury, a local news organization, and Portland Mayor Tom Wheeler, who amplified the rumors on Twitter. Yet all of the Proud Boy members who have been blamed for the string of attacks denied their involvement. But there is no evidence that links them to any of the incidents. This is going to keep happening, and the attacks are going to look worse and worse, and their motives are to A, garner sympathy for their GoFundMe pages, and B, to help start a race/civil war in the United States. Yep. So what do you think? Do you think eventually their little false flag attacks are going to actually work, and they're going to get the violence spreading like they want? Oh, we can only hope. We can only hope, right? Anyway, thought I'd share these with y'all. I hope you have a good day. I'll do another video here in a couple of hours. Till next time, kill the state before the state kills you.